What is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Fire Sports 6 podcast. College football playoff is here, ladies and gentlemen. What an episode I have for the boys today. We're going to break down every single game. We're going to break down every single team. I'm going to give you guys what teams I think are legitimate title contenders and what teams I think are a little bit fraudulent. And there's one team in there that I was doing my research. I was going through. I think there's one team that's in that top four that get a bye that is particularly fraudulent. So you're going to want to stay locked in so we can get to that. I think there might be a chance one of these G5 teams can pull off an upset. I'm just happy to be done with all the semantics that go with the college football playoff. Who deserves to get in? Who doesn't deserve to get in? Why is it Notre Dame in? Texas 3 loss. They deserve to be in. I bitched and moaned. Everybody bitched and moaned. Let's stop bitching and moaning. We have the 12 teams. I hate that there's G5 teams. Cry about it. We got football and we have some tremendous matchups. Although I do think out of all of these teams that are playing this weekend, especially it's like the two matchups where it's actual good games, I don't think any of those teams have a legitimate chance to go on a run. Like I don't think Oklahoma or Bama could do it. I don't think Texas A&M and Miami could do it. If I had to choose one of those four, I think A&M has the best shot because I'm just a Marcel Reed truther. But either way, I don't think any of those teams can do it, especially the A&M Miami draw. They have to play Ohio State in the next round, and I'm very, very high on them. We will get into them, obviously, as we're going to get into every single team. Let's start from the top. I'll have you guys know I did take a lot of notes because obviously I'm not as locked in with the college football atmosphere landscape as I am with the NFL in terms of just knowledge up in my brain. So I did have to research. So at times it might seem like I'm just reading, and that's absolutely 1,000,000% what I'm doing. But also I have these ideas about teams. I do the research to see whether I can confirm or deny my idea about said team, and then I look at the numbers plus what I've seen with my own two eyes, and then I go and form opinions. That's how we do this here. And I think I have a pretty decent grasp now after spending the last 4 hours looking at numbers, looking at statistics, as what teams have the best shot in this format in this year's college football playoff. And I think there's going to be a lot less volatility, a lot less, what's the word here? I can't think of the word right now, but last year was pretty like every game was a blowout in the first round. We didn't see much. What is the word when there's like a lot of variety? There's a lot of, I can't think of it. Parity. Like I think there is a decent bit of parity this year compared to the previous years, unless Ohio State just runs through everybody again, which is completely plausible. But let's start at the top of the bracket. James Madison versus Oregon. And when you think about Oregon, there's a narrative a little bit surrounding them. They haven't really played anybody. They haven't really beat anybody, and that is true. They lost by 10 to Indiana, and their best win is probably USC. They did beat Penn State in the whiteout. That game was electric. But this Oregon team's also been banged up. They haven't had their standout freshman receiver, Decorian Moore, all season. He might make a return here, and I hope Oregon isn't overlooking this James Madison team because let me tell you, this JMU team has all of the makings of a potential upset. They're second in the country in time of possession. There's not a single team in the field that rushes for more yards per game than the James Madison Dukes. James Madison also has the second best run defense in the country, the second best run defense in terms of yards per game in the field. Some crazy also like kind of out of the box stats here. They are top 3 in both block kicks and blocked punts. So correct me if I'm wrong here, but a team that controls the time of possession, has a good run defense, is stingy defensively. They can get sacks as well. They have a very good turnover margin also. They don't turn the ball over a lot, and they create plays on special teams, top 3 in both blocked punts and blocked kicks, and second in the country at time and possession. How does that is everything you need to put together an upset. Control the clock, keep Dante Moore, keep Sadiq, keep Decorian Moore if he plays, keep Whittington, keep them off onto the sideline, control the time of possession, run the ball, and then you look up in the fourth quarter, Oregon hasn't been on the field at all, and it's a one-possession game. I think JMU has a better shot than a lot of people think they do in terms of upsetting because that's just the type of football team they are. Stingy defense, control the clock, good rushing attack, good run defense, dual threat quarterbacks, which can be a pain, especially for a team in Oregon who doesn't generate a lot of sacks. They are the only team with less sacks in this field is Georgia. So I think JMU is getting completely overlooked as a potential upset just because of the way they play. They have all of the makings, all of the recipe for an upset is the JMU Dukes. All that being said, though, size and talent does matter. It does matter. And I was looking it up. I did look it up. Every single starter on Oregon's offensive line is 300 pounds or more, which is like obviously, right? A bit power for a Nike budget. Then you look at JMU, they have two players on the defensive side of the ball that are over 300 pounds. One of them has 3 tackles all season long. The other one plays. The other one's like top 4 on the team in sacks. I think he leads the team in stuffs. He plays. He's a big key of their defense. He is the anchor of their defense. Not going to tell you his name. Don't remember his name. But they have 2 defensive linemen over 300 pounds, and one of them doesn't see the field. This is Oregon's offensive line. JMU objectively is not seeing offensive line. Left tackle 6'8", 318. Right guard 6'5", 318. Left guard 6'3", 330. Right tackle 6'6", 330. Like that, the size does matter. And Oregon is a pretty solid team at running the football. I think if DeCorian Moore doesn't play, which he hasn't in a while, but Dan Lanning said he's not. They didn't shut him down for the season. They expected him to return at some point. If he doesn't play, that makes things a lot easier because their 3 starting corners are 6'1", 5'9", and 5'11", which is that's not crazy undersized. It's just all 4 of Oregon's leading receivers are above 6'4", and I think the tight end Kenyon Sadiq could be a real problem. He's a matchup nightmare for anybody in college football. A team like JMU undoubtedly has not seen a player like Kenyon Sadiq. So obviously, I think Oregon wins, and I think Oregon, in terms of straight talent, I would argue they have more NFL guys. The only team with more NFL guys is probably Ohio State. It's just also continuity. They've been injured, and they haven't really beat anybody other than USC. But when they did beat them, I think Oregon can win the national championship. I'm going to say right now, I am a Dante Moore believer. I think they probably have the best, if not the second best. They might have the most talented quarterback. In terms of pure talent, they might have the most talented quarterback in the field. They have the size up front. They have one of the best offensive lines. If they can get DeCorian Moore back, they have one of the best rushing attacks in football. Their real only weakness is that they don't generate a lot of pressure. I mean, they barely allow three yards per carry. Dante Moore's also only been sacked 12 times. 6 of them came against Indiana. So outside of Indiana, who led the Big Ten in sacks, Dante Moore doesn't get pressured, hasn't gotten pressured. They have the 3rd best pass defense in the country, only allowing 144 yards through the air. The only team in the playoff with a better pass defense is Ohio State. But then again, that bodes well for JMU because Oregon's not a JMU is not a pass first team. They are a run dominant team. Here, I have it up here somewhere. Hold on. Run heavy ball club led by Wayne Knight, who had 200 yards against Troy in the Sun Belt Championship. JMU ran the ball 239 more times than they threw it this season. So Oregon can have the best pass defense in football. JMU doesn't throw the ball that much. They are a run-first team. I think JMU could pull off the upset. I will be betting them. Like, obviously, 21.5. I'm not saying go and bet it. I'm not saying I think it's going to happen. I think they have a much better chance than Tulane does based on the makeup of their team. I love them plus 21.5. I think they cover that. Although it is in UG. It is in UG. Listen, all of this upset talk, I understand it sounds crazy. But from a pure logical standpoint, from a team that were to pull off a crazy upset, they need to keep the other team's offense off the field. They have to have a good defense. They have to control time of possession. They have to have a good rushing attack to control time of possession. And they need to get some help from their special teams. JMU is top 3 in blocked punts and kicks on the year. So, like, from a pure makeup standpoint, that is a team that can upset somebody. That's all I'm saying. I don't think it's going to happen. Obviously, I think Oregon, in terms of NFL guys, is probably the most talented outside of Ohio State in this field. But JMU is not an easy out. I think JMU is easily better than Tulane, even though Tulane does have the 2 Power 4 wins against, was it not Nebraska, Northwestern and Duke, the ACC champ. Funny enough, but JMU in their game against Louisville, they were winning that game in the 3rd quarter. They put the ball on the ground, scoop and score. They threw an interception, and that was really it. But they were in that game. They got outgained by Louisville by 1 yard. So they can play with these Power Four schools. They have the talent. They have a freshman edge rusher out of Baltimore who's going to be playing in the SEC or at a good Big Ten school next year. His name's on here somewhere. I'm not even going to bother and finding it, but he has like 7.5 sacks. He leads the team in sacks. Freshman from Maryland. That is talent. That is a good player. So I like JMU to cover. I think like I don't want to call it like I'm not calling it, but if there was a team out of these G5 schools to get an upset, it would be the Dukes. And I think that like the timing as well, like not to go off vibes, like everything I said recently, like just then was logical, but the vibe of like everybody's ripping on the G5 right now, like don't let them in, don't let them in. They're just gonna get blown out by Oregon. And I'm a Dan Lanning guy. I think he's a tremendous coach, so I doubt that. I doubt it happens, but I don't know. I feel like people are really, really quickly to write off this JMU team without looking into it a little bit. And listen, I barely watched them play all year. Same with Tulane, barely watched them play. I'm not going to say that, but just looking at this team, doing the research on this team, statistically, what they do is control the clock, create create explosive plays on special teams, win the turnover margin, good run defense, stingy defense, good pass, or don't take a lot of sacks, good rushing attack. Quick water break. I think JMU has a chance here. All right, enough talking about the Dukes. But I think Oregon is a team, though. I said it when I started, like, what are teams I think can win the national championship? I absolutely think Oregon can. I think pure talent wise, they're up there with Ohio State. Obviously, Ohio State's on a different level, and Indiana also is incredible too. But I like Oregon a lot. I think Dante Moore did get banged up a lot in that game. They did have injuries on the defensive side of the ball, and Dante Moore got injured in that game as well. But they also did have DeCorian Moore at that time as well. And that guy's a stud too. That guy is a stud. If they get him back, they might not need him against JMU, but they're gonna need him against Texas Tech, which is a team that we'll get into momentarily. But let's go to the other game, Oklahoma at Bama. Rematch of a couple of weeks ago or a couple of months ago at this point. Oklahoma won by I think it was 2 points. Oklahoma's defense is the real deal. Their offense, on the other hand, is not. Seventh best scoring defense in the country, 31st pass defense, top 5 run D, most sacks in the country with 41, which is advantageous for Alabama. Or no, this game is not in Tuscaloosa. This game's in Norman. That Ty Simpson also takes the most sacks out of any quarterback in this field, so that's worth noting. And Oklahoma was in his face a lot. I thought, like going back, Ty Simpson had a few errant throws in that game, but he wasn't exactly horrible. Either way, Oklahoma's pass defense is 100% susceptible to the big play. Chambliss had 300 plus. Joey Aguilar had 300 plus. Ty Simpson had 300 plus. And besides the airmail pick six, which was horrible, this passing attack in Alabama has been lethal at times. The Ryan Grubb offense with the playmakers that he has there with Ryan Williams, Thornton, their tight end went off against Oklahoma as well. Or it might not have been Oklahoma, might have been against Georgia. Either way. Jeremy Bernard, Ryan Williams, Thornton, they have the passing attack to expose an Oklahoma secondary that has been the weakness of the secondary as long as Ty Simpson can be protected. But like I said, he takes more sacks than any team or any quarterback in this field. And Bama can't run the football. They had -4 yards rushing in the SEC championship game. Oklahoma has one of the best run defenses in football, top 5 run defense in football. I don't even think Bama should try to establish the run. Obviously, you have to try and get it going a little bit just to keep defenses honest. But honestly, the weakness for Oklahoma is in their secondary. You need to exploit that with guys like Jeremy Bernard, Ryan Williams. Just get the ball in their hands quickly too, so that you kind of don't give these pass rushers in Oklahoma a chance to pin their ears back and get after Ty Simpson. But Ty Simpson sacked 25 times. No quarterback has been sacked more. Bama does not have the best. Bama does have the best pass defense in the SEC, 7th best in the country. So obviously it's very good. They have struggled against the run, but the Sooners average 3.7 yards per carry. The Sooners offense is completely uninspiring. Mateer is very volatile. He makes ballsy throws. He puts the ball in harm's way a good amount. You don't want to do that against a team like Alabama, especially a team like Alabama with a quarterback like Ty Simpson, who if you get pressure on him, he will make a mistake eventually. So you don't want to just give the ball away, which Mateer has an ability to do. So I think Oklahoma's pass rush is good enough to throw Ty Simpson off, and he won't let this Ryan Grubb offense get totally going. But then again, I do trust Debor and Grubb because they made it to a national championship. Number one, and two, these pass catchers are so good. Ryan Williams has become a little bit underrated, but Jeremy Bernard is disgusting. Ty Simpson has flashed at times as well. Genuinely, this game is a toss-up. So the smart move in a toss-up is to take the home underdog in Oklahoma against the team that has lost two of its last four in Alabama. Take the team that has the most sacks, take the team that has the most sacks in the tournament against the quarterback that takes the most sacks, being Oklahoma's defense against Ty Simpson. So I'm going to take Oklahoma. I don't think either of these teams has the quarterback. I don't think Oklahoma has the offense. I don't think Bama has the run game. I don't think Bama has the pass rush or quite frankly, I don't think Bama has the defense or the quarterback either to go on a long sustained run. And what is it? Both of these teams would find their way against Indiana in the second round. I think against that defense, Ty Simpson would shrink. And I just think Mateer also wouldn't have answers for that defense. And I think offensively, Indiana has more firepower than Oklahoma does for sure. I don't know about Alabama in terms of weapons, but I'll tell you this, Indiana can run the ball way more efficiently than Alabama can. So in that second round matchup, I will be taking Indiana no matter who it is. But if Oklahoma or Alabama has a convincing win, that can be subject to change. I just don't foresee that happening. I really don't. I think this game's going to be ugly. I think it's going to be neck and neck. So like the plus 1.5 is not enough points. It's a pick. It should be a pick 'em. Take the plus points for the home underdog that leads the country in sacks against the quarterback that gets sacked the most in this tournament, Ty Simpson. That's how I'm attacking this game. Okay, let's go. Now we'll take a break from the matchups and we'll go through the four teams with the buys. Texas Tech, they're as good as anybody. This team is legit. If you don't think this team is legit, you need to go and watch some highlights. You need to go look at do the research yourself. But I promise you, this team is as real as it gets. Texas Tech is the real deal. They're fifth in total defense, third in scoring, first in turnovers, first in fumbles recovered, first in run defense, fifth in sacks, sixth in tackles for loss, 10th in interceptions. They didn't win a game this season by less than 20 points. They allowed more than 20 points just once. And as good as this defense is, there's not a single team in the field that has scored more points per game than Texas Tech as well at 42.5. They're top 10 in Power 4 in passing yards per game. They're 11th in Power 4 in rushing yards per game. Cam Dickey is an absolute beast. He gets downhill, and Jacoby Williams is a speedster. They're a great 1-2 punch. Both of them are 1,000-yard from scrimmage guys. Dickey and Williams, it's kind of like Walmart college version Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs, just obviously not to that extent. And their only loss came without Baron Morton. Underrated weapons with those two running backs, Reggie Virgil, Caleb Douglas. I'm telling you, this Texas Tech team is legit, and don't overlook them because they were in the Big 12. I think that's a bad idea. When you see in the context of how they blew out teams in the Big 12, it shows you just how dominant this team can be. Their only weakness really is in the secondary, 26th against the pass, which isn't even that bad, but there wasn't really a high flying passing attack. And BYU at times, even with Bayer, like they could get down the field a little bit, and BYU does have some good receivers. Like they showed flashes of exposing this Tech secondary a little bit. And I think a team later on, like Ohio State or Indiana, or a team that I like a lot, Ole Miss, like a team with a high power passing attack, could give this Texas Tech team trouble. But and Oregon does have a good passing attack, so maybe they can give them trouble in the second round. I just think Tech's defense is too good. I think they're a legitimate national championship contender. Obviously, side note, they have the most block punts and block kicks in the country as well. So they're winning in all three phases, dominant in all three phases. So I'm in on Tech for sure. Now Georgia. Georgia is a team that I think is a little bit of a paper tiger. And I don't say that with a lot of conviction for a reason, and that is that Kirby Smart is the best active head coach in college football in the country, without a doubt. But this is a different Georgia team than we're accustomed to seeing in terms of their defense, which is just not as dominant. 48th in passing yards per game, only 20 sacks on the season, the worst out of any team, the least amount out of any team in the playoff. The two elite offenses they played so far this season that are top 10 in Power 4 in scoring, Tennessee and Ole Miss. Tennessee put up 41. Ole Miss put up 35. So against the two elite offenses they've seen, they were able to move the ball. They were able to put up points. Granted, they won both of those games, so what does it matter? But they have the 12th best passing attack in the SEC. They're 75th in the country. They're 34th best rushing attack in the country as well. So they do run the ball better than they throw it. Gunnar Stockton is good when he needs to be. He's timely, but it's not like this offense is completely explosive. 102nd in turnovers created, 107th in sacks. Georgia. Let me rephrase that again. The University of Georgia is 102nd in turnovers created and 107th in sacks. That is ridiculous. When you think about Georgia, you think about defensive dominance. You think about Nolan Smith, Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis. Like, you think about these guys, Keely Ringo. You think about these guys that turnover machines and they just get sacks. And everybody I just named is everybody I just named is literally on the Eagles. N'Kobe Dean. Like, what are we doing here? Jalen Carter or Jalen, not Jalen Carter. What's the guy? Oh my God, Jalen Walker on the Falcons. There we go. Not all Eagles, but still, you get the point. When you think of this team, you think of elite pass rush. You think of turnovers. This Georgia defense is not like the Georgia defense you've been accustomed to since Kirby Smart has been there. They are 102nd in turnovers created and 107th in sacks, both the lowest ranking out of any team in the college football playoff. They're also 48th in the country against the pass. And in the second round, they're poised to see an Ole Miss offense that is the best, most efficient passing attack in this field, in this 12-team field. And I understand they played them earlier. Ole Miss moved the ball very well. They were going shot for shot with Georgia up until the fourth quarter, then 2 3-and-outs and a turnover on downs. But Ole Miss can play with Georgia. I think they're a little bit of a paper tiger. They don't really do anything elite there. They're like top 5 in time of possession in the country, so they do control the clock. When you look at the two elite offenses that Georgia has played in Tennessee and Ole Miss, both of those teams are top 10 in Power 4 in points per game. Tennessee put up 41, Ole Miss put up 35. So I think this Georgia team, even though they've been dominant, they beat everybody on their schedule. And I think it was a little bit of an easier SEC schedule than a lot of people are alluding to. And yes, Texas, good win. Alabama, good win. Ole Miss, good win. I understand. Tennessee, not that good. They squeaked by Georgia Tech. And in that Texas game, like, that was a game. That was a game in the fourth quarter, and then they scored a touchdown onside kick. Kirby's a genius. That's why I'm not completely writing off this Georgia team, but I think they are the weakest out of the top 4 teams. I think they are weaker than Texas Tech is. I really do. Texas Tech is not getting enough flowers. So I think Georgia and Ole Miss in the second round could be a potential upset spot for the University of Georgia. All that being said, you know what? No, you know what? I'm not going to pull any punches. I don't think this Georgia team can win the national championship. There, I said it. That could age horribly, but think, like, looking at their roster, remembering their games that they played, like, Gunnar Stockton he's a gamer, he's timely, but you look at the roster that Georgia has, they don't really have any elite playmakers outside of Zachariah Branch, but when you look at the weapons, I'm taking Ohio State's, obviously, Carnell Tate, Jeremiah Smith. I'm taking Indiana's, I'm taking Oregon's, I'm taking Bama's, I'm taking A&M's, I'm taking Miami's with Tony and Daniels. I'm taking Texas Tech's with Dickey and Virgil and company. All Georgia has is Zachariah Branch and Frazier and Bowen, so which is a pretty good. Their running attack is their weakness. I shouldn't say Georgia doesn't do anything elite because their run game. I have it in here somewhere. I'm pretty sure they have like a top 10 run game. I don't even hold on. All right, maybe it's not top 10. Don't quote. A 34th best rushing attack. So that's like not even that elite. That's not even that elite. Georgia doesn't do anything particularly elite. That's why I think they're a little bit of a paper tiger, and I don't think they can win the national championship this year. And as far as SEC schedules are concerned, yes, they beat the good teams on their schedule, but out of the SEC teams that made the college football playoff, Georgia is 1-1 against them. Actually, let me double check that. Did they play? I don't think they played Oklahoma. Let me double check that. I don't think they played Oklahoma. I could be wrong though. Either way, it's crazy when you think about Kirby Smart's defenses and Georgia's defenses. It's sacks and turnovers. It's dominance. Their defense hasn't been that dominant. But then again, against the top 10 teams, they got gashed, but they still won. And that's really all that matters. And against Texas, which is a good offense down the stretch, Arch Manning was playing at an elite level down the stretch. That is a good defense too, and they move the ball well. So listen, I'm not writing off Georgia, obviously. That would be foolish. I guess I am kind of writing. I'm not. I am. Let me stop pulling punches. I am kind of writing off Georgia a little bit just because I think they're the worst out of the other three teams that have a bye. And I don't think that's crazy. Let me just double check. I don't want to sound like an idiot. I don't think they played Oklahoma. Yeah, they didn't. Like looking at their schedule, man, like it's not that inspiring, dude. It's not that inspiring. Like outside of like Tennessee's not like that's not that great of a win. And Tennessee hung 41 on them, right? Bama, good win, obviously. But Bama even they like they beat them. They beat them the second time. The first time they lost, like that. Yeah, I don't know. Bama's a good team. It's just like it's not crazy. Ole Miss is their best win, in my opinion. I think Ole Miss is a real problem. But other than that, like Kentucky win, Auburn, Florida, Mississippi State, Georgia Tech barely squeaked by them. Like that's an easy SEC schedule. That's not the hard. That's not an absolute gauntlet. That's not really a gauntlet SEC schedule like an Oklahoma or an Ole Miss or even a Bama had to go through. Like that's not completely or Texas even. Like I'm just saying. Anyway, enough Georgia talk. Let's move on to the two Big Ten teams that have buys. Indiana, can't say enough about what Cignetti's done. Elite defense, third in run defense, third in tackles for loss, sixth in turnovers, seventh in interceptions, third in turnovers lost, third in turnovers lost means they don't turn the ball over. Fifth in sacks, 19th in pass defense, top 5 in power 4 in yards per game and points per game offensively, best third down percentage in the country. They are as advertised. Mendoza doesn't turn the ball over, and he is an absolute game. You think about the clutch moments, Penn State, Iowa, Big Ten championship. He's just been absolutely clutch. He's been an absolute baller. They're also the least penalized team in the field as well. They're legitimate title contenders. Dante Moore, I said this earlier. Dante Moore was sacked 12 times this season, which is that I think that's the least out of anybody in the field. Don't quote me on that, but I think that's the least out of anybody in the field. 6 of them came against Indiana, and that game was in Eugene, in Oregon. So this defense is legit. This offense is also legit with Surratt, and I'm forgetting their other receiver that went off in the Big Ten championship. Either way, he's a dog. Hemby, a dog, one of the best O-lines in the country as well. And their defense is as good as Ohio State's and Texas Tech's. And I think those are the 3 best defenses in the country. It's just, I don't know if they can beat Ohio State twice. I have a hard time wrapping my head around that. And I think Ryan Day blew that game more than the players did because we'll just segue quickly. Ohio State is easily the most talented team in the field. And I was going through their roster, looking at the guys on there, the amount of first rounders, potential first rounders that this Ohio State team has, it would be a real shame if they don't go back to back. Sayin, Carnell Tate, Arvell Reese, Jeremiah Smith, Sonny Styles, Caden McDonald, Kenyatta Jackson, Max Clare, and that doesn't even include Caden Curry, who leads the team in sacks and tackles and TFLs this season with all those first round guys. He'll probably be a day 2 pick. And then their corner, Davison, I don't think his last name's a real problem for me. So I'm not even going to go there. But he leads the team in pass breakup. So they have so many first round picks. And when you think like they're not just first round picks, Julian Sayin wouldn't be probably top 10. Carnell Tate could be top 15. Jeremiah Smith could be top 5. Arvell Reese could be top 10. Kenyatta Jackson Jr., if he has another good year next year, he could be top 5 or top 10. Like, they are loaded. Easily the most talented team in the field. They've been getting disrespected all Heisman Awards ceremony, all week after the Big Ten championship game. Ohio State's my national championship pick. Brave of me, I know. But we're just looking at the talent on this roster, looking at the season they had. And Bo Jackson could be a first-round pick. Who knows? He's a freshman. And that guy's been unbelievable. He averaged 5 yards per carry against the top 5 run defense in Indiana in the Big Ten championship game. They needed to give him the ball more. Like, Bo Jackson's a stud. He's come on late. 1,000 yards in the Big Ten as a freshman. This team is disgusting. They have the best weapons. They have a top 5 quarterback in the playoff. They have the best defense in the playoff. They have the most NFL talent in the playoff. They should be the favorite. They should win it all. It would be a real shame. A lot of pressure on them because with the players that they have there, a lot of pressure on Ryan Day. There's no reason they shouldn't go back to back. There's no reason they shouldn't go back to back. This team is like one of those teams. Like we look back at the LSU, Alabama now. Ohio State's in that same tier in terms of just pure talent. They have it, man. They have it, and they've done it already. Like a lot of these guys have done it already. So I think Ohio State should be the favorite. They're my pick to win it all, especially when you look at their path. I'd much rather see Georgia than I would Texas Tech or Indiana in the semis. I'd much rather because I don't think, like I said, I don't think Bama or Oklahoma could do it. I think Oregon could beat Tech. So I think it'll be Indiana and Texas Tech or Oregon. I'd rather play Georgia than Oregon, Tech, or Indiana. So I think Ohio State, not only are they the most talented, but low key having like losing the Big Ten championship made their run to the national championship easier from my eyes. Because, like I said, I think Georgia is a little bit of a paper tiger, and they're not that good against the pass. They don't get pressure. And Julian saying, I think I was wrong when I said Dante Moore's the least sack. I think Julian saying is the least sack quarterback in the field. I think it's saying not Dante Moore. Either way, though, Georgia doesn't. They don't get sacks. They don't have a good pass defense. They don't generate turnovers. Parnell Tate, Jeremiah Smith against that Georgia secondary. I think they're torching. I think they're torching them. So I think Ohio State has an easier run than any other team. Like I'd rather see Georgia than Tech, Indiana, or Oregon. And that's what the semifinal matchup's going to be in the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl. So I think Ohio State's a lock to make the Natty. And if they see it, if it's Indiana, I have a tough time seeing Indiana beat them twice. I think Tech could do it. I also think here, yeah, this is a good segment. We'll get into Texas A&M Miami last. That's my favorite game of the weekend. And I did have a take early on this year that was like, if any team could beat Ohio State, I think it's A&M because of Marshall Reed. So we'll circle back to that. But yeah, Ohio State's my pick to win it all. No excuse. They're on the easier side of the bracket in my eyes. A lot of people are just disagreeing with that. That's fine. But I just don't think Georgia's as good as Tech, Indiana, or even Oregon. So yeah, no excuses. This team should win it all. All right, Tulane, not as high on Tulane as I am on JMU. I think Ole Miss, who already beat them by 50, or not 50, I think it was like 35 or something like that. I think they take care of them handedly again. But in case they don't, here's what you need to know about Tulane. They have 2 Power 4 wins, like I said earlier, against Northwestern and Duke, who's the AC champion. Their only G5 loss came to UTSA, where Roadrunners quarterback Owen McCown, who I'm assuming is related to Josh McCown because he looks just like him, was 31 for 33 for 370 yards and 4 touchdowns. I just thought that was crazy when I clicked that box score. 31 for 33. They lost to the UTSA Roadrunners. Jake Retzlaff, I'm pretty sure this is the guy that was forced to transfer from BYU because he was having sex. I think that was the guy. Don't quote me on that. You can Google it. Dual threat quarterback, he's solid. He's solid. 16 touchdowns on the ground, 600 rushing yards, 107 total yards versus Ole Miss last time they played. So not good. He was still learning the offense from what I read though. Passing attack is efficient, 11th in the country in passing success rate, but Ole Miss has a good pass defense, 3rd best in the SEC, top 10 in Power 4. Tulane also struggles to run the ball, 75th in the country in yards per carry. That is a little bit of a weakness on this Ole Miss defense. So Tulane's defense ranked 109th in success rate against the pass, 77th in yards per dropback in the country. Ole Miss has the best passing offense in the college football playoff in yards per game and yards per completion. I'm all over Ole Miss. I love Trinidad Chambliss. I think he's an absolute beast. I love their running back too. Oh my gosh. Lacey, hold on, I have it in here. Kwan Lacey, he averages 5 yards per carry, ran for 1,200 yards and 20 touchdowns. As a freshman, Quinshon Judkin vibes. He's an absolute beast. Tulane struggles against the run. They struggle. They're better against the run than they are against the pass, but Ole Miss has the best passing attack in football. How much that takes a step back with Lane Kiffin gone, I think their offensive coordinator was promoted to head coach, so I think it's a similar scheme. We'll see. I don't think it'll be enough an impact for them to lose to Tulane, but I think we'll get a good bearing about where this offense is without Kiffin in this Tulane game. And if they look explosive, I would be scared if I was Georgia for sure. But defensively, Ole Miss 20th in the country against the pass, 62nd in sacks, and 69th in the country in run defense. Their biggest weakness is against the run, but they were in that game against Georgia. Like I said, and into the fourth quarter, then it was 2 3 and outs and a turnover on downs, and then Ole Miss just couldn't stop them. So the following week, they did hang 34 on Oklahoma, who's one of the best defenses in the country, and they did that in Norman. I think Ole Miss is a very strong team. I think if Lane Kiffin stuck around, legitimate chance to make a run to the national championship. But no Lane caps their ceiling for me, and their inability to stop the run and at times the past, like in that Georgia game, I have a tough time seeing them beat Ohio State in the semis, but I think they could beat Georgia. There is a world where they do beat Georgia, but I'm done talking about Georgia. I already went on my Georgia paper tiger rant. Miami at A&M. A&M's undefeated at home. Miami only played 4 road games all year, and they're 3-1 on the road. And they lost to SMU, who's led by Kevin Jennings, very similar archetype to Marcel Reed. And I'm a big Marcel Reed guy. Jennings in that game against Miami when they lost to SMU was 29 for 44, 365 yards and 2 touchdowns. A&M has a good rushing attack, but Miami is 7th in the country against the run. Miami also has one of the best O-lines in football. They've only allowed 11 sacks, the 5th least in Power 4. A&M leads the country in sacks. So something has to give. I'm going to lean on the SEC pass rush and Cassius Howard over the ACC offensive line. Miami also has not played the receivers to the caliber of Texas A&M's, and that is the weak point of their defense. They do generate a good pass rush, but they allow 190 passing yards per game. That's 30th in the country. Conception, Craver, Bethel Roman, Marcel Reed. This A&M offensive line is solid as well. I think Miami's defensive numbers are a little bit inflated because they played in a conference where the champion was a 7-5 Duke team. Both teams are similar. Good pass rushers, good offensive line. A&M is better against the pass. Defensively, Miami is better against the run, but A&M's defense has gotten exposed against the run at times. Notre Dame gashed them, UTSA gashed them, Arkansas gashed them. Miami doesn't have a run game. So I think the matchup here favors A&M. They are at home. They're undefeated at home. I trust Marcel Reed more than I trust Carson Beck. Give me A&M. Give them the cover, and I love the over 50 in this game as well. A lot of explosive playmakers in this game. I think Casey Conception houses a punt return. I don't know. They got to send Tony back there to return punts as well. Him and CJ Daniels are great. Conception, Craver are better. I love A&M in this game. Marcel Reed is better than Carson Beck. And I said, this is the third time I was wrong. Carson Beck's obviously, I think, the least sack quarterback in the field. So Beck, I think it's Beck. I don't know who it is. Look it up yourselves. It definitely wasn't Dante Moore, even though 12 is crazy. So 12 is crazy low. So it honestly might have been Dante Moore. I think it's Carson Beck, least sack quarterback in the field. So real quick, we'll go through it, give my final predictions. I think Oregon beats JMU, but like I said, like I opened the show, JMU's sleeper upset. And then I think Texas Tech beats Oregon. I think Oklahoma beats Bama. That game's a real toss-up, though. Just take the home dog. Indiana beats whoever they play in the second round. You have Indiana, Texas Tech, and then you have Ole Miss beating Tulane. You have Ole Miss, Georgia. If Lane Kiffin was still the coach, I'd take Ole Miss, but I'm going to take Georgia to move on to the Fiesta Bowl. I'm taking A&M over Miami, Ohio State over A&M. That puts us into the semifinals now of Texas Tech, Indiana, Ohio State, Georgia. A lot of chalk. I understand that. Whatever. Give me Tech over Indiana. I think this Texas Tech team is as good as anybody in the country. Top 10 in Power 4 offensively in yards and points per game. They've scored the most points out of any team in the field in terms of points per game, and their defense statistically is as good as Indiana's and Ohio State's. Even though they play in the Big 12, they have not won a game by less than 20 points. It has been pure dominance. Give me Tech over Indiana in the semis. No disrespect to Mendoza, Signetti, and the boys. I just don't want to go completely chalk. And then I think Ohio State wipes Georgia. Ohio State, Texas Tech for the national championship. Give me Ohio State. I just have to do it. So I think I like where I'm at, and that's not a diss to Indiana. I just didn't want to go completely chalk. I think if I'm Ohio State, I'd rather see Indiana than Texas Tech because they're a team you have some familiarity with in the Natty. But I'm very excited. This was a very fun episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Like it was just fun talking scenarios, talking ball. I spent a lot of time researching all this stuff, so make sure you leave a like. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube. Make sure you follow if you're listening on Spotify. I love all of you guys. I'll catch you guys on the next episode of the Fire Sports Takes podcast.